In the quiet solitude of his workshop, Roman meticulously forges his own sword, repeating each precise action with a rhythmic precision and controlled strength. With each movement, he becomes entirely engrossed in his craft, entering a trance-like state where his focus is solely on the creation of this weapon. As the hammer strikes the blade, Roman's mind begins to wander, contemplating the purpose and meaning of his existence. In the midst of his work, Roman reflects on his past life as Baek Joong, a life filled with the relentless pursuit of survival in a world that adhered to the principle of the fittest. The heavenly demon, his father, cast a formidable shadow over his upbringing. Despite the adversities that befell him, Roman emerged victorious, earning the reputation as the strongest. This arduous journey, Roman muses, was never perceived as a burden. Instead, it shaped him into the resilient individual he is now. In the present moment, as the rhythmic clang of metal against metal persists, Roman grapples with a profound question. What is he living for? The echoes of his past resonate with the challenges he faced, and he contemplates the significance of his current endeavors. Remaining true to his reality, Roman recognizes that his current state is not formidable enough to withstand the unpredictable variables that may come his way. It is in this realization that he resolves to intensify his training, seeking to fortify himself against the uncertainties of his world. Within Roman's universe, potent forces exert their influence, yet he remains unaware of their full extent. As he continues to hammer away at the sword's blade, his thoughts intertwine with the need to comprehend and confront these powerful entities. The unyielding resolve that marked his past triumphs fuels his determination to elevate himself to new heights, transcending the limitations that currently bind him. In a pivotal moment, Roman decides to draw upon a formidable skill from his past life in Murim, the godly inferno arts. This martial technique, once wielded by the renowned flame demon, harnesses the scorching power of intense heat to rapidly accumulate mana. Roman acknowledges the risks. Frequent use could inflict damage upon his lungs and internal organs. Yet, driven by an insatiable desire for a power that can confront any adversity, he embraces this perilous art. The scene transitions to the grandeur of Lawrence Palace, where Flora, a determined figure, addresses the Lawrence nobles and her father. In this opulent setting, Flora delivers a stark reality. Lawrence is backed into a corner. The support from neighboring regions is restricted, and the military disparity with Barkos is unmistakable. Faced with the harsh truth, discussions ensue about surrendering, a desperate attempt to salvage even a fragment of Lawrence family's land. Flora, however, vehemently opposes this notion. Her unwavering belief is that surrender, regardless of the perceived cost, is an avenue Lawrence must not tread. In her eyes, conceding defeat is a betrayal of the very essence that defines their heritage. In the hushed atmosphere of the meeting room, Flora's father, the head of the Lawrence family, expressed a surprising sentiment by forcefully slamming his hand on the table. He suggested to Flora that perhaps surrendering would be the most prudent choice, a way to prevent the unnecessary loss of innocent lives in a war that seemed destined for defeat. His rationale was rooted in the revelation that Barko, their adversary, had leveraged their connections within the central government to secure a loan from the prestigious gold bank. In response to this unexpected proposal, Flora calmly countered her father's suggestion. She speculated that if Barko indeed secured the loan, it was likely processed as an unsecured one, an arrangement without collateral. Such loans, Flora pointed out, typically carried exorbitant interest rates. Moreover, she astutely observed that the war's consequences were not exclusive to Barko's benefit. The gold bank, as the lender, would reap rewards as well. Flora foresaw a grim future where, once Barko occupied Lawrence, the land itself would bear the brunt of their occupation. The revelation sent ripples of surprise across the faces of those gathered at the table. Flora's father, now turning to her for guidance, sought to understand the path forward in this complex and dire situation. However, his expectations were met with a response that left him flustered. Flora's proposed solution, framed as desperate resistance, seemed disappointingly mundane to Baron Lawrence. He had anticipated a more extraordinary countermeasure from Flora, known for her discernment and ability to see through intricate situations. Baron Lawrence, seeking clarification, inquired about the specific actions constituting Flora's proposed best way for Lawrence to survive closing the castle gates. Flora's response, however, transcended the mere act of defensive fortification. She expounded on a strategy that involved not only holding out but also making sacrifices. Flora advocated for giving up the entire year's produce by setting fire to the fields, a drastic measure to ensure the survival of Lawrence. Her proposal extended beyond mere military strategy, delving into the realm of resource management and resilience. The shock on Baron Lawrence's face was palpable as he grappled with the implications of Flora's plan. Holding out until winter, as suggested by his daughter, seemed a daunting and unprecedented challenge. Flora, undeterred, continued to lay out the rationale behind her strategy. She emphasized that Barco's advantage, derived from their connection to the central government, was not an infinite resource. The interest rates on their loan would inevitably rise over time, potentially becoming a significant burden. Additionally, Flora underscored the involvement of the Gold Bank, a colossal entity with expansive influence throughout the entire continent. In Flora's perspective, the prolonged continuation of the war would only amplify the consequences for Barco, especially in terms of the interest accrued on their loan. The Gold Bank's pervasive influence, she argued, could tip the scales in favor of Lawrence if they adopted a strategy of resilient endurance. The complexities of power dynamics, financial intricacies, and strategic foresight converged in Flora's proposed plan, forming a nuanced approach to a seemingly insurmountable challenge. As the narrative unfolds, the Gold Bank begins to exert pressure on the Barco family through mounting interest. Despite Barco's influential connections in the central government, the Gold Bank proves to be an entity resistant to such influence. The money that funds mercenaries, a key component of Barco's strength, originates from the Gold Bank. With winter approaching and siege warfare becoming less favorable, the Barcos find themselves facing inevitable desiccation. Flora's father and the others at the table are visibly surprised by this revelation. Flora's unexpected insight unveils a potential strategy that could alter the course of the battle. Baron Lawrence, who had previously questioned Flora's maturity due to an incident involving Dimitry, now recognizes the depth of her strategic thinking. He marvels at the considerable growth he sees in his daughter. Responding to Flora's proposal, Baron Lawrence affirms her correctness. From this moment onward, Lawrence will prepare for a desperate resistance. He expresses their determination to endure and safeguard the lineage of the Lawrence family. Even in the face of potential collapse and seemingly insurmountable odds, Lawrence commits to persisting in the fight until the bitter end. The narrative then shifts to Roman, who completes the preparation of his sword. Contemplating the significance of a person's first creation, Roman believes that this sword, his inaugural masterpiece, aligns perfectly with his current self. Choosing a name borrowed from the world around him, Roman christens the sword Salamander, signifying both its fiery essence and his newfound strength. The scene unfolds, and we find ourselves in the Lawrence Palace on the following day. A Barco knight steps confidently forward, positioned in front of the imposing gate of Lawrence Castle. This knight, a representative of Viscount Barco, is about to deliver a message that will determine the course of events to come. Barco, through his proxy, presents three choices to the rulers of Lawrence. The first, a seemingly practical one, involves Lawrence capitulating by emerging through the castle gate to surrender. This, according to Barco, is the only path to mercy for the lives of Lawrence's soldiers. The second option is the stark alternative of an all-out war. Barco proposes a fair and square battle on an open field, with a judge from the central government overseeing the confrontation. Lawrence is also given the option to choose a battle between two individual warriors, utilizing any method of combat that suits their preference. Barco pledges to abide by Lawrence's decision. In response, Baron Lawrence rebuffs Barco's cause, alleging that the document claiming Lawrence's ancestors dead is a fabrication. He vehemently declares that the proclamation of war against Lawrence is unjustified. Baron Lawrence raises his voice, making it clear that Lawrence has no intention of sacrificing its people. In a bold move, Lawrence counters with a third choice, a determined resistance within the protective walls of their castle. The Barco knight, now in the midst of this diplomatic exchange, assures Baron Lawrence that the Barco family will respect Lawrence's decision and acknowledge the inevitable bloodshed in the upcoming siege warfare. What unfolds next takes both Lawrence soldiers and Baron Lawrence by surprise. Barco soldiers are already assembled, geared up, and prepared for the impending conflict. The atmosphere is charged with tension as the war drums of anticipation beat louder. As the battle kicks off, Lawrence archers positioned strategically above the castle walls rain down a barrage of arrows on the advancing Barco soldiers. The air is filled with the whistle of arrows in flight and the thud as they find their targets. In the Barco camp, Baron Barco is visibly taken aback by Lawrence's unexpected choice of desperate resistance. Despite having a numerical advantage with 3 times as many soldiers, the dynamics of the battle unfold in a manner contrary to Barco's expectations. The Barco forces, prepared for a swift and decisive victory, now face a resilient Lawrence that appears to have completed thorough preparations for this conflict. For Baron Barco, the realization dawns that Lawrence is not to be underestimated. The battle, expected to be decided within an hour, becomes a protracted struggle. Lawrence's strategic depth and resilience challenge the preconceived notions of both Barco and his forces. In the heart of the Lawrence territory, a strategic move was made as the Lawrence meticulously dug a deep moat encircling their fortress, an obstacle designed to impede any enemy soldiers approaching the walls. The air crackled with tension as Lawrence archers unleashed a relentless storm of arrows right from the outset. This ceaseless barrage hinted to the keen-eyed commander that Lawrence had amassed a considerable stockpile of war supplies. News of Lawrence's defensive measures reached Baron Barco, the opposition's leader, and frustration etched itself across his face. A week had passed since the last encounter, and Baron Barco found himself grappling with the question of what had unfolded in that time. He couldn't fathom the unexpected turn of events. Lawrence, in Baron Barco's calculations, should have chosen to surrender, clinging to whatever sliver of land they could salvage. Instead, Lawrence opted for a desperate resistance, risking potential annihilation by sealing the castle gate. Baron Barco, surrounded by the remnants of his assumptions, pondered where his calculations had gone astray. In the midst of uncertainty, the commander soldiers sought guidance from Baron Barco. The response was unexpected. Baron Barco, wearing a serious expression, instructed them to prepare for what lay ahead. The shock among the commander soldiers was palpable, but Baron Barco exuded an air of confidence. In his eyes, Viscount Lawrence was not a figure of unwavering resolve. Baron Barco recalled a moment of weakness when Viscount Lawrence almost succumbed to external pressure, nearly marrying his daughter into the Dimitry family, a move influenced by Barco's machinations. Baron Barco viewed Viscount Lawrence as a leader who shrank like a coward when confronted with crises. The narrative shifted to the Lawrence Palace, where urgency permeated the air. Viscount Lawrence, recognizing the imminent threat, swiftly ordered his soldiers to prepare for the forthcoming attack. The unpredictability of Barco's next move hung over them like a looming storm. Viscount Lawrence turned to his daughter, Flora, acknowledging her earlier insights. Barco, it seemed, had been flustered and had pulled back their forces. Intrigued, Viscount Lawrence queried Flora on her thought process. In a poignant moment, Flora stepped forward, revealing a newfound strength and resilience. She expressed a realization that waiting for problems to resolve themselves was futile. Instead, she needed to actively become stronger. It was a declaration of autonomy and a commitment to forging her own path in life. Viscount Lawrence, moved by his daughter's determination, found himself on the verge of emotion. In a sincere apology, he expressed remorse for forcing Flora into a marriage with the Dimitry family. He admitted that, at the time, he believed it was the sole means for Lawrence to endure the mounting pressures. The weight of past decisions and the acknowledgement of Flora's burgeoning independence created a poignant interlude amid the impending conflict. From this moment onward, Viscount Lawrence entrusted his daughter Flora with crucial decisions. As they shared an emotional moment, an unexpected explosion rocked the castle walls, prompting Flora to quickly assess the situation. To her surprise, the Barcos had employed a formidable weapon known as a flare, a catapult launching explosive magic at the castle walls. Flora, realizing the strategic and financial implications, felt a wave of frustration. The cost of each shot was exorbitant, and more significantly, the use of such a weapon required approval from the central government, irrespective of one's wealth. Baffled by how Barco managed to acquire both the financial means and the political connections for this magical assault, Flora contemplated Lawrence's limited options. To counter the flare, they needed an equivalent magic weapon or the risky strategy of confronting the magical assault outside the castle walls. Both options seemed impractical, leaving Lawrence in a precarious situation. Determined not to succumb to despair, Flora grappled with the urgency of the situation. The looming threat demanded a swift response, and as she pondered the dire possibilities, a surprising development unfolded. Flora's maid delivered unexpected news, an incoming magical call from Roman Dimitry. Flora, astonished, listened as the maid conveyed Roman's message. He had a solution to aid Lawrence. The revelation struck Flora with disbelief. Roman Dimitry, whom she had seen as an adversary, now offered an unexpected lifeline in Lawrence's time of need. As Flora went to receive the magical call, her curiosity propelled her to question Roman about the specifics of his plan to rescue Lawrence from the impending danger. In response, Roman adopted a candid approach, admitting that his intention was to exact revenge against the Barco family due to personal grievances. He emphasized that this decision was irreversible, and the only remaining variable was the timing for him to unleash his vengeance. Roman proposed a collaboration with the Lawrence family, assuring them that if they adhered to his plan, he would expedite his vendetta against the Barcos, effectively neutralizing the imminent threat. Flora, grappling with the revelation, sought clarification on Lawrence's role in Roman's revenge scheme. Roman elucidated that Lawrence needed to initiate the process by making a sacrifice. The gravity of the term sacrifice hung in the air, and Flora, recognizing the dire circumstances Lawrence faced, reluctantly considered the proposal. It became apparent that Roman, fully aware of Lawrence's predicament and limited alternatives, unapologetically suggested this drastic measure as a means to an end. In response to Roman's proposition, Flora, torn between loyalty to her family and the ethical implications of the sacrifice, made a solemn promise. She vowed to Roman that she would do anything within her power to protect her family. However, Roman introduced an additional condition to their arrangement. In a bid to legitimize his intervention in the ongoing conflict, Flora found herself tasked with a peculiar mission. She was instructed to assert that Anthony Barco, a member of the opposing family, had coerced her into terminating her marriage with Roman Dimitry. Flora, taken aback by this unexpected directive, attentively listened as Roman elucidated that her only obligation was to affirm, despite the absence of any real involvement with Anthony, that his threats had compelled her to call off the impending union with the Dimitrys. By vocalizing this narrative, she aimed to fabricate a compelling cause that would not only serve as a catalyst, but also mitigate the imminent peril in Lawrence. Flora stood in stunned silence as Roman revealed his unyielding intention to seek revenge against the Barco family. The shock of his proclamation hung in the air, and Flora, grappling with the weight of the revelation, sought clarification on the intricate details of his plan to rescue Lawrence from the looming danger. In response to her inquiry, Roman introduced a chilling condition to their collaboration. If Flora claimed that Anthony Barco had threatened her, asserting that the alleged incident occurred before their disengagement, she would be considered one of Roman's people. As Flora contemplated the gravity of Roman's proposal, the distant echoes of the ongoing war served as a stark reminder of Lawrence's precarious situation. The urgency of the moment pressed upon her, and a surge of frustration and determination welled up within Flora. She shouted at Roman, pleading with him to obliterate every single one of the Barco family, her words infused with a desperate desire to protect Lawrence at any cost. Returning to the tumultuous battlefield, where Barco soldiers attempted to breach the castle walls, Viscount Lawrence was engrossed in guiding his defenders. In the midst of this distraction, a Barco soldier managed to scale the wall and struck at Viscount Lawrence. However, in a moment of providence, Flora, positioned strategically behind her father, shot an arrow that intercepted the attacker, saving Viscount Lawrence from harm. With her father momentarily safe, Flora implored Viscount Lawrence to open the castle gate and confront the Barco forces directly. The proposal, however, left Viscount Lawrence perplexed. Sensing his hesitation, Flora disclosed Roman Dimitry's promise to aid Lawrence. Roman, she explained, would lead his forces to destroy Flare, the magical weapon the Barcos wielded, if Lawrence faced Barco head-on. Viscount Lawrence, still puzzled, questioned the motive behind Roman Dimitry's sudden assistance. Flora, constrained by time, assured her father that Roman was a man of his word. The specifics remained unexplained, but Flora's conviction in Roman's commitment spurred her to push forward with this unorthodox strategy. The scene transitioned to Roman in a forest. The magical call with Flora concluded. Chris, Roman's companion, approached him, questioning the delay in attacking the Barco forces. Chris, concerned about the imminent fall of Lawrence, emphasized the destructive potential of Flare, a magical weapon capable of breaching castle walls. To counter Barco's plan and support Lawrence, Chris advised Roman to attack their rear promptly. Roman, however, was not convinced and sought clarification from Chris. The unexpected inquiry caught Chris off guard, prompting him to explain the urgency of the situation. He underscored the critical need for Roman to act swiftly and decisively to protect Lawrence from the imminent peril posed by Flare. Roman remained steadfast in his indifference to the fate of Lawrence, expressing to Chris that preserving the lives of his people held greater importance to him than the survival of Lawrence itself. He clarified that he refused to compel those who had sworn allegiance to him to become mere sacrifices, even if Lawrence suffered losses due to following an incapable leader. Chris, though surprised, acknowledged and understood Roman's position. The focus then shifted back to the Lawrence Palace, where Viscount Lawrence, fueled by righteous anger, commanded his soldiers to open the gate and confront the Barco adversaries. In a fervent charge, the Lawrence soldiers faced the formidable Barco forces. However, the momentum took an abrupt turn as a Barco soldier from the Berga mercenary company effortlessly dispatched several Lawrence soldiers in a single strike. Shocked by this display of strength, the Lawrence soldiers retreated back into the safety of the castle walls. Witnessing this, Flora, determined not to yield, ordered her soldiers to hold their position and resist the impulse to retreat. As anxiety mounted, Flora pondered whether Lawrence's inability to serve as effective bait would result in Roman's non-intervention. To her surprise, Roman emerged from the shadows and strategically struck at the heart of the Barco forces.